going to be an upset trap again. This is Big 12 Breakdown. It's Wednesday night, 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central, and of course we bring in the best bloggers in the Big 12, talking Hunter Cook from Beef of the Matador. We've got Melissa Treebwasser from Frogs O' War and Mr. Robert Wetzel from Cowboys Ride for Free, and who knows what Robert's got for us tonight. But Hunter, we're just going to have to wait because we got to start with you and our tweet of the week. Break the ice.
I grew up around a bunch of A&M fans, and not like the kind of like crazy A&M fans, like the really funny, self-deprecating A&M fans. And I don't know why, but this tweet from one of my friends I worked with at camp, he says, "I don't know why I'm laughing. I think A&M football finally broke me. I'm going to go do a puzzle." And just like, if that's your reaction to sports, I'm going to go do a puzzle, then yeah, I'd say sports has broken you. And after last week, I kind of agreed with him. I wanted to do a puzzle as well.
That's where you go when your team has just crushed your hopes and dreams. It's puzzle time.
Straight to the jigsaw.
I hope those were only 20-piece puzzles for both y'all.
Exactly.
I was going to hit that more with the Aggie than the Red Raider.
Yeah. Hey, I set myself up perfectly for that. Can't argue it.
I was not even taking the slam there for you, Hunter. I was just thinking, racking my brain for 4 hours over 200, 300 pieces of puzzle is not what I want to do after I've been dragged through defeat at the last second.
Hey, for an Aggie, they're racking their brain for 3 or 4 hours over a 20-piece puzzle, so.
Hey-o!
We can say that because they're not in the Big 12 anymore. Thanks.
Yeah,
that's how we are.
After they ditched the Big 12, you guys
Thank
must
you.
have really been on a rampage.
No, we're glad. I'm more than happy.
Hey,
Let's talk about this
anymore.
Baylor quarterback situation. So we've got Seth Russell, who, of course, is replacing Bryce Petty, but there have been no issues. Baylor has yet to play anybody really, really tough yet. But Seth Russell, the guy in place to possibly lead this team to a conference championship, but unfortunately out for the season now after the injury to Iowa State. Jarrett Stidham steps in, and by all accounts, this is the guy to complete the run for the Baylor Bears, that there should be no issues. So, Hunter, we'll start with you on your thoughts about the Baylor quarterback situation.
Man, I have many thoughts about Jarrett Stidham. Just want to start off by saying, like, even though he was committed to Tech and he left in kind of a funky way, like, I wish the kid all the best. And, you know, in the end, that's what it's about. Like, you're a kid, you want to go where you want to go, and wish him the best of luck there. He has all the skills to be a successful quarterback running Baylor's offense. He can do it with his legs a little bit, but he is much, much more prone to do it with his arm. He's definitely a talent. I mean, he's a 5-star quarterback for a reason. And in garbage time, he's shown that he can operate that Baylor system very, very effectively. Now, the only thing is his lack of experience, and his lack of experience in, like, actual game time scenarios. I mean, you can get in garbage time, and that does mean something, but it's definitely not the same from trotting out on that field and facing 11 fresh defensive players on the other side of the ball. I would expect Baylor's offense to dip off, but I don't expect them to dip off a whole lot. Like, they're still going to be Baylor. They have all the pieces in place to make Jarrett Stidham look like a Heisman contender, and I really do think that they keep on rolling, albeit at a little bit slower pace.
Hey, Melissa, I know that you don't want to see anyone get hurt just like the rest of us. Nobody wants to see anyone get hurt. But if somebody is going to get hurt, maybe this could have happened like the Thursday before the TCU game.
You know, it's kind of a bittersweet pill. I've been really proud of the TCU community because everyone has really wished Seth Russell well and just focus on this is a kid who suffered a devastating injury and possibly a career ender. So, you know, we want to put him first and his health first, of course. That's really what matters more than football. But there's also that little bit of us that are saying, man, if we do pull it together and we do have an opportunity to beat Baylor, all those excuses are going to be built in for them. You know, never mind all the excuses that TCU's already been piling up through the years, just in case they don't. But it'll be what Jarrett Stidham can do. I mean, like Hunter was saying, he's incredibly talented. He's a 5-star kid. Patterson already mentioned how he was a kid we went after, but just really never got the big interest that he showed to Tech and eventually Baylor. I think the Bears will lose a little bit in the running game just based off of what Seth Russell was doing to this point in the season with his legs. But to me, there's two things that are really interesting. Number one, what happens to Corey Coleman? A lot of times you see a backup come in, and his comfort zone might not be with the first and second option at receiver. He may have a guy who's a third or fourth string, but that he throws a lot to in practice that becomes more comfortable for him. So do we see Coleman's ridiculous production dip a little bit? And the other thing that we've got, of course, is that Baylor, TCU, Oklahoma State all have a November gauntlet of playing each other. So Seth Russell, fattened up his statistics to get some weaker teams in the Big 12, but they've got to go on the road to Oklahoma State. They've got to go on the road to Fort Worth. So he's going to be thrown right into the fire. And while I don't think they miss a step, the one thing I think we will see that's a big difference from Seth Russell, I don't know that he's going to protect the ball quite as well as Russell did.
Hey, Robert, I know you can talk Baylor football for hours, so I think we've got you set up nicely here. And actually, while you are talking, don't be alarmed. I'm going to jump off, see if I correct our audio problems. I'm going to jump back in, so you just take it away and expound on Baylor football as you love to do.
This is dangerous.
Yeah, this is dangerous territory. Mark has just really sacrificed the integrity of the program, probably. And I think we just determined that the problem was Mark, because he went off and our echo went away. So hopefully he gets that fixed. So Baylor football, as Melissa and I were talking about before we got on the show, I don't think they miss a beat. I think that if you're going to get an injury like this, the timing of it was great. A bye week. You've got Kansas State coming up. So you really got a couple of weeks to get Stidham in, kind of in the groove of, hey, you're the starter and you've got to run this show from the beginning. I think the real test for him is going to be when OU comes to town, because their defense is playing a lot better right now. Their offense is finding a groove. I think that game in Waco will kind of be a flag for, is Stidham going to be able to take this team down the home stretch here.
Let me ask you this. Hate to clean up the technicalities while we're on the air talking football here, but were you guys having the echo while I jumped off?
Well, we weren't, and then we are now.
Yeah,
I still heard it.
Yeah, before you got back on, we heard it.
All right. You guys need to talk about the Big 12 for about 20 minutes, and I'll just leave you alone. And you guys can shut this thing down. That's probably what we need to do here. What do you think? You got the games lined up here.
They may tune in to listen to us.
I don't know what to do here.
Listen, they may tune in to listen to us, but I think a big reason they tune in is to look at you. So, well coiffed, very professional, put together.
That's why the views are usually like 8, 12, 15. Yeah, I got it, Robert. I'm right there with you. This discussion, except for the echo. So I think you three take it away, and we'll shut it down here in I don't know, 15 or 20 minutes.
Well, there we go. So I don't think Baylor misses a beat. OU's kind of the game. It's going to be a bellwether game, I think, going into November. What do you guys see happening as we step into November? Do you see 3 undefeated teams? That's kind of a loaded question for you, Hunter. Do you see 2 undefeated teams and OU and OSU having a chance to make a run with 1 loss? Do you think a Big 12 team with 1 loss gets in the playoff?
Oh, this is a lot of questions. Yeah, I think we see 3 undefeated teams. I mean, Halloween in Lubbock, it's going to be weird. It's going to be spooky. But I just don't think there's any way we come out of that one with a win. I think we go back to bowl eligibility and get a couple of wins down the road on maybe like a Kansas State, who's a little bit weaker than they have been in the past. Bill Snyder, maybe peel one off Texas and Austin, potentially, maybe, hopefully, haven't beaten them in like friggin' 8 years. That'd be nice to win. But I don't think there's any way. Or actually, there is a way Oklahoma State loses this one, and if it's our secondary plays really, really well, But as we have seen from the past couple weeks, that is not always the case. So I do think Oklahoma State rolls in there undefeated. 3 undefeated Big 12 teams all playing each other in the back half of the season. It's going to get weird. And yes, I do think a one-loss Big 12 team makes it in if that team is Baylor or TCU. Sorry, Robert, I don't think the Pokes get in just based on like scheduling and the eyeball test and all that kind of stuff. And that's not me saying it. That's just kind of a prediction. And Baylor and TCU have been there in the spotlight with the target on their backs for the entire season. So as Baylor or TCU, yeah, absolutely they get in with one loss.
Melissa?
Well, the most Oklahoma thing to happen would be for them to lose to Texas, roll through the rest of the Big 12 season, and get into the playoffs and win the whole thing. That would be Bob Stoops at his utter finest. And I disagree with you, Hunter. I don't know that one-loss TCU or one-loss Baylor is guaranteed to get into the postseason. I think a one-loss OU is. I don't think a one-loss Oklahoma State does it either. I mean, I think we've seen that when given the opportunity, the playoff committee is going to choose the blue blood program. And they can talk about how they're not all they want, but there's a lot of guys going to be on their knees in Philadelphia praying that Temple loses a game this weekend. And there's going to be a lot of people hoping that Memphis loses a game coming up the next couple weeks. These guys don't want to let Cinderella in. At least they're looking for an excuse not to, maybe is the right way to put that.
Yeah, and I would echo that I think
Echo.
Yeah. See what I did there, guys? I was not thinking about that at all. So if a one-loss team from the Big 12 is going to get in, I think OU is absolutely in the perfect position to do it. Because they lost early. Everybody's going to forget about that. And now the hard part is you take TCU, you take Baylor. If either one of those teams are going to take a loss, it's going to be in November. That's tough to come back from without a championship game. Oklahoma State, no way. They'd have to go undefeated. You throw a loss in there, they're still just creeping to the top 10. All right? And even then, I mean, I think if they win out, if you've got 4 teams ahead of them that are remaining undefeated, you know, it's too far to climb. One loss would definitely knock that out. But OU is in great position for this. I agree, Melissa.
Well, and TCU is in a terrible position because even if they manage to get through the gauntlet of at Oklahoma State, at Oklahoma, and Baylor at home 6 days later, they don't play on the last weekend of the season because the Big 12 schedulers continue to be, frankly, idiotic. So I don't know how you give your preseason #1 team a bye week on the last day of the season. It makes zero sense to me. They could have moved that Oklahoma TCU game to December 5th and chose not to because, again, this conference is on top of things. But the Frogs are going to, if they lose to Baylor or they lose to Oklahoma, there's going to be a lot of people sitting back on Championship Saturday going, TCU team doesn't look quite as good as the guys we're watching play today.
Yeah.
Big 12 scheduling. 11 straight weeks. No bye week. Got it on the 12th and 14th yet again. I'm not saying it's a conspiracy, but I'm not saying it is not a conspiracy because it's kind of screwy, man. That's whack. Oh, I don't care who you are.